Hello and welcome back. In the last video I showed you how you could use some pretty basic tools to pose your model to the skeleton, and in this video we're gonna start enveloping the model. Now first off, I'm gonna start by opening up the Explorer and changing around one of these groups that I had made, as I don't want all of what I have in this bones group in there. So I'm gonna start out. I'm going to select some bones that we don't need to actually envelope the model to, that you really never should envelope your models to. That would be the motion bone and the tag bones for the hands. And I'm just going to create a new group. Let's see, just name it whatever. And I'm going to hide those, and the tags, I'm going to hide all those also since we don't need them. Now we're going to start off by enveloping this model, and you're going to see exactly why we created those groups here. So I'm going to go into this animate panel, envelope, set envelope. Yes. I'm actually going to pick this group, and it's going to choose all the bones in that group to envelope the model to, which is way faster than sitting here and picking everything one by one. So there we have it. We have our basic envelope. It won't be perfect, so definitely going to be going in and doing some tweaking. As you can see, there's a bunch of weird spots. Now one of the first things we're going to do is we're going to select members. We're going to keyframe all these bones where they're at in both translation and rotation. That way we can move everything around, and whenever we wanted to just go back to the root pose, all we have to do is use left and right arrows to change frame, and everything will snap right back to place, which it makes it really easy to test out how well your envelope is going. Now the main thing you're going to be using is this weight editor panel over here. As you can see, click on this little brush, and with your mesh selected, it'll show all of the deformers under, or all the deformers that mesh has got an envelope for. And up here you have your opacity, which is the strength of the brush, the radius, and which can actually be changed by holding down the W button, which activates the brush, and using middle mouse button to adjust brush size. And then left will paint the weight, and right mouse button will decrease the weight of the selected bone, and you just select each bone by going in here. Well, certain areas like the head, I like to start out by just taking the cranium bone and just painting everything to it, just to get it's kind of easier to start some places like that. Although I tend to rarely ever start with the head, but here we'll just start off at this point. As you can see, I'm pretty quickly changing all the weights of the model by just holding down W and using my mouse to paint. Another method you can use too, which is mainly for some of the verts you can't see. Let's say there's some behind all that hair that I'm missing. You can use Control E, open this up here, and we have a simple weight editor. I'm just going to take all that and go all the way to 100%. Now there's some pretty basics, and let's like move on to say the shoulder area, one of the tougher areas to do. If you move that out, you'll see it doesn't deform very well. So what we're going to do, we're going to change the weights on some of these. We're going to pull that over there and definitely keep those holsters from stretching so much. Let's see our lower lumbar here, but that's still at 100%, makes it easy for this stuff. We're gonna fix some of these static objects that shouldn't deform, unlike the limbs. We're just gonna make them static by pinning everything to one bone. Okay, that should be good for all of that. Make sure we get behind everything. And that's those pieces taken care of. We're moving right along here. Let's find our upper lumbar here, and we're gonna decrease our size. Once you start getting into some of the fine tuning, you're gonna really want to decrease your size. I usually work with a pretty low opacity. I mean, this is like the most I'll work with, and you'll just start painting the weights. As you can see, with your model and your kind of little test pose that you've got, you can looks like his little radio there is his little radio antenna. There we go. Oops, I need to turn this back down. Let's see. And that's all there really is to most of this. You're just going to be going through and brushing the weights to try to get everything to look as realistic as possible. That's your real focus here, and sometimes it can take a little bit of time, but other times it's not so bad. I mean, there's no real right or wrong way, honestly. Every model is going to be different, and the way you do it is all going to depend on that. I mean, just the way the polygons flow. This area up here, I'm going to have to really increase the opacity here and get these not so much right there, but some of these other parts here. Kind of get this opacity a little. Get some of these parts that are kind of deforming a little weird. There we go. That's like a good start for that little area. As you can see, you've got a lot of weird spots here where you're just going to have to go through and pretty much smooth it all out. If you want, you can even select a lot of vertexes in the joint individually and get a rough draft going by just half and halving it, like say between this clavicle and this humerus bone here. You can just put a 50% value between the two and have a pretty good starting point that way also, but no matter what, you're gonna have to sit here and really paint away for a good bit of time before everything's quite the way you're gonna want it. Let's see, where was that clavicle? You can see some things are starting to get a little smoother here. A lot of times this lower part of the armpit here, you'll want to sort of share weights with the some of the bones in the torso. Let's see how some of this stuff works. Starting to get a little better. And just slowly, little by little, you'll just want to get that little road vert right there. There we go. What you pretty much want when you're doing this is to have, like say, the top of the shoulder there sort of collapse in slightly while the rest of it tends to stretch out on the armpit area. There we go. That fixes that little spot. Some of these parts can be quite annoying and a little time consuming, to say the least, but it's pretty much what you're gonna have to do. There we go. Starting to look a little better now. Let me fix this edge here. you can open the weight editor too and using polygons, edges, and it'll automatically get the vertexes that are involved. We can refresh that. Here we go. We got a little 50-50 weight right there. Probably won't spend a ton of time tweaking some of these little accessories here. I'll mostly show you guys what to do with a lot of the joints and just pretty basic stuff. As you can see there, that's pretty bad, but it's a good thing about setting those keyframes on the bones. We can just kind of pose it however we want, and we'll just start going. And you notice the arms have 4 bones in them. This one here and this one, and the legs also have 2 for the thigh. The second one in the chain is pretty much there to help with twisting. It lets the model deform a little smoother when the arms are rotated, instead of having a big twist in the shoulder, the elbow, and everything kind of collapses in. You can twist this halfway and twist that halfway and get the same range of motion, but without everything getting all distorted so badly. And they'll usually have a little thing like humerus X, you know, radius X. So they're kind of easy to spot, but we're just going to go in here now with these and start fixing up this area here so everything's not so collapsed down. I'm just going to start brushing away. In some parts we'll probably even get it all the way up to 100% there. Kind of get the volume of the arm back. For the elbow there, I usually tend to just like let it completely collapse inside the pit of the elbow. Get in all these little cracks and crevices. Now here we're gonna fix some of the stretching. By weighing a lot of these vertexes back to the twist bone there. See, that is kind of messed up. Because the elbow's not even bending at the joint right there. It's kind of bending early from all the bad weights. There we go. We're starting to get our shape back here. Still a good bit of stretching though that needs to be fixed. Sometimes you get a lot luckier though with the map when it's first created, when you first select all the bones to set the envelope. You'll get a lot of times you actually can get pretty lucky, and soft image will do a really good job of setting the envelope right away to where it looks really good and deforms really good, like right out of the selection. There we go, we're starting to get it here. Give a little bit of that part of the elbow. Let's get a little bit there. Straighten this out. Straighten this cuff area out a little bit better. There we go. Let me just do this so I can sort of frame in on everything. So, now that's starting to look a whole lot better. Let me bend the joint out a little bit. There's still some collapsing here, but it can easily be fixed. With some slight brush strokes, which is why I keep it on such a low opacity. We have also, you'll find this too, watch over here when I move that. Let me turn on wireframe. See that vert over there? That's another thing you gotta watch for, is some things that aren't even close to where you're at, and it's somehow weighed to the, just like down here, I moved this little twist bone here, and guess what, I got parts of the torso move along with it. What I'm actually going to do here is select this loop here. I'm going to actually give it a little bit of weight info from the upper arm bone. Take away all of that. Give it full of this, and just a slight bit of that. As you can see, it's updating as I go. I'm going to do the same thing with this one here too. Just a tiny bit. Like I said, to help with some of that rotation. Now the next part, of course, we're going to move down to the hand. Just like bend it that way a little bit. Kind of have the hand hanging limp there. And of course, same issues with the elbow. We've got too much collapsing right here. We're going to just fix all these weights on here. This whole cuff here will be mostly weighed to that radius X bone. There's that little guy. It's hiding under there. Then you're stretching out here. Just gonna start brushing away. everything right here, I'm going to have to say, I'm just going to take all these polygons here, Control E and open up the weight editor, and I'm just going to put all that to there for now, just to make things easier. I'll go back and tweak later. Like I said before, you can do that with a lot of parts. It's really just kind of weigh everything to one bone and go back and tweak later, just to get things kind of not so out of shape. Get most of this buckle here on his glove all weighed to that radius X bone. It's starting to look not so bad. Bend her the other way and see how things look. Not too bad. Bit of stretching, but we'll fix that real quick. You can see how fast the weight panning tool is able to doctor up this model's weights rather than some of the more simple methods that tend to take a very long time that I've known people to use in game modding, and for some reason they stick to those old methods that really just take forever. Let's like twist this forearm and see what we can do about this here. And it doesn't move too bad. It's pretty decent on its own. I think I may just leave that alone. We have that arm pretty much weighed. We're going to snap it back because I'm going to get down into doing the fingers. For this, I believe what I may do, because there's a lot of things that are really close together down here, the program can really get confused, and you could have a vertex in one finger weighed to this thumb bone over here, just because everything's so close together and it's all distance based when it sets the envelope. So I'm just going to I'm going to select like most of the hand and just weigh it all to one bone, the hand bone. Make sure I didn't go too far. No. I'm just going to open up the weight editor and I'm going to go our hand. See, we've got tag bone for some reason that shouldn't be selected. We're going to get rid of that. I think that's something to do with me not removing the tag bone and motion bone from here. But hopefully you guys don't make the same mistake, but it's not that huge of a deal. It just makes it the group thing just makes it easy to select every bone you need for your envelope. Now, moving on to this, I'm going to start this thumb off by, I'm going to select some down here. I'm just going to grow selection out to about there. I'm going to pick that RD1J1. I'm just going to give it a little bit of weight right there, and we're going to do a 50-50 split here. Actually, I'm going to do the whole thing. RDJ1 or D1J1. Let's see how that looks. Probably gonna be terrible, but not too bad. We're just gonna go in manually and start tweaking everything around. Just grab the R hand and we're gonna get the brush size down a tiny bit. We're just gonna start doing some painting. There we go. As you can see, it's already starting to look a whole lot better. Oops. Let me add weight back to that. Maybe bring some of these up a little bit using RD1J1 bone. Oops, that didn't look so good. Let's kind of move this again and see how that looks when I move it. Not so bad. We're just going to do the same thing with the lower half of the thumb. Just going to grow my selection up to about there. I'm going to take that. I'm going to add a little bit of weight to it. Looks like I've got my right hand has a tiny bit of weight on a couple of the vertexes, but I'm just going to 50-50 it all right now and see how it turns out. I'll just have to add that little bit of weight back to it. Oh yeah, that was right here where I... Now we're going to move this. As you can see, it moves pretty terribly. So we're going to take a lot of these here actually and just full weight them 100%. Actually, add a little bit to my selection here and go all the way. There we go. Just smooth some of these collapsed areas out a little bit. And I think that'll be good enough right there. Snap back here and look at how this moves. Seems to move alright. We're just gonna keep doing the same thing with the fingers. Start out with the index finger. Let's see, it's gonna be hard to not select anything in the background. And we'll just pick this first joint here Just add a little bit of weight to any random vertex. I'm just gonna full 100% it. Pick that bone and move it. Of course, with it 100% to two different bones right along a boundary, it's gonna have some pretty nasty issues. It's gonna move very sharply. Just gonna take that and smooth it out. Bring this top view on the knuckles a little closer. Oops. Got that thumb one in the background. Definitely gotta be careful about that. Let's see. Even add a little bit to these in the palm. That's pretty much that. I mean, there's not a whole lot of vertexes in that finger, so can't really move a whole lot to it. Again, in this game, there's very few sequences, unless it's like a cutscene that has actual animations for the hands and fingers. They really don't move in any of the animations other than maybe a cutscene. Let's move this out of the way. Can't really see. A little bit there. That way when we can deal with some collapsing in there, because no one's really gonna see down in there. Now for these last three fingers, they are actually all just weighed up to these bones here. Kind of do it mitten style. So we're just going to do the same thing we did before and get everything weighed to that first joint. Take care of some of this stretching here. Where's my hand? There we are. Kind of smooth these things out here. get in this little crevice back here and try to smooth things out a little bit. It's really the best we can do with such a low polygon character. Now we're just going to do the same thing as before and finish up. Select here and cup on the tip of this finger here. Just grow out, and we will paint a weight just so it will show up in this editor here. And we'll do like just full and smooth out the transition. Some of the spots where it may not look quite right. Like this knuckle, for instance, got weight collapsed in. I don't know about you guys, but I think those fingers look pretty decent. About as decent as they'll get. Maybe on this one here I'll... Oops, wrong one. Assign some more. I accidentally pressed that. So that'll keep its volume a little bit better. And there we have that. Now one of the next things I'm going to show you can really speed up the process here is I'm going to select these vertexes in this arm here, much like we did before, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror all this work that I just did over to this side. You may have to do some tweaking eventually, but this will really speed things up quite a bit. Go to envelope mirror weights, symmetry mapping template. Yes, we want to create one on that plane. Filled template, create symmetry map, and hit OK. And let's close this here. You want to just skim through this and make sure that everything on here, your right is going to correspond to your left. Everything is looking good so far. Okay. Now, let's see how well this did. Did pretty well so far. I mean, minus that knife, but that wasn't on the other side. So if your character has a lot of accessories, that's going to be the one thing you'll be fixing. So instead of starting out like the other arm was before, we've got an almost perfect envelope. I mean, as you can see here, there's like this little wayward edge here that's I could use some fixing, but for the most part everything mirrored right over. And you could do the same thing with the legs. You can weigh, and you want to, it's going to map from right to left because that's the way I did it. I weighed the right side and then I mapped it over to the left. So if you mirror again, you're going to want to stick with the right side or whichever side you chose originally and to mirror, which can really help with the arms, legs, and even the torso, because parts of the torso I would say probably takes the most time to get perfect. So, but this will really speed everything up quite a bit. Yeah, let's just do that 100%. Just like I said, you'll want to check everything and make sure everything went okay. Everything moves alright. For the most part, everything seemed to have worked out. So now we pretty much have the arms already rigged up. We can move on to the legs. This knife here, I'm going to put it completely to the upper lumbar. As you can see now when I hit the W though, I've got this symmetry map showing up, which I may have to turn off there. Let's see if I can find that in my Explorer. Oh, there we go. Looks like I can't really disable that. Oh well. Guess I'll just have to, I don't know what'll happen if I delete that cluster or not. Everything pretty much stays the way it was. Yeah, we saw that decent envelope going on, so that's good. So now, we can move on to the legs here, and the legs are going to be pretty much the same as the arms, but I would say the most time you're going to spend would actually be in the hips. The hips, as you can see, as I bend this up, everything collapses in real badly, and there's quite a lot going on here, especially with this model and these straps that he has. It can really take you a long time to get everything quite right, but it's going to just mostly be a matter of just painting little by little, using a real low opacity. I mean, especially in this area here, as well as the upper torso, where you have, you know, these clavicle bones in your thoracic and your cervical. It's really going to take a lot of time, and this character, he's got all these little things going on here, which you're going to have to, I'm going to have to, you know, envelope these belts to make sure they move with the model and don't clip into it, as well as these planes that I have here that just have some wires, and they're all going to be alpha mapped to where you only see the wires in game. But I mean, then you also got up here, you can see I didn't line my eyes up too perfectly, but I'm going to actually go ahead and I'm going to weigh this jaw, because I want to have some facial animations. The eyes aren't that huge of a deal, but if you're playing, you can really notice, you know, the character doesn't talk. You use taunts in multiplayer, or you're playing single player, little cutscene, and the character doesn't talk to the other people around him. So I'm gonna actually start out getting some of these that would move with the jaw normally. I get my little rough start there, and I'm gonna go back now and start to paint things. There's a problem here is he actually didn't separate the mouth there, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it using the raycast edge select. We're going to disconnect components. Now let's move that jaw down, and there we go. Sort of got a little bit of a rough draft here. What I'll probably do later on is model out the inside of the mouth. since it's not there, just so we can have that little feature. And there's that. I mean, a lot of people really don't spend the time to model out the mouth there, but it really, envelope the face, but as you can see, it really didn't take me that much time or effort to really get it going good. Now I'm gonna have to let you guys go ahead and weigh most everything. As you can probably tell by the length of the video so far that if I kept going, it would be quite a long video to go from start to finish, especially with all the tons of minor tweaking. But I think now I've mostly got the gist of it and the point across to where you can really understand some of the tools and just how quick and easy enveloping a model in soft image can be. I mean, it didn't take long, and I was, going quite slow and explaining things as I went, and we've already got the arms and face perfectly weighed. Soft image will mostly do the torso pretty well, as you can see on its own. Just some of the little accessories like these belts and such will have to just be played around with so that they don't clip as the character moves. Yeah, see, he already kind of leans over quite well without much problem. The legs will be quite simple. Like I said, the main area you'll really just have to spend some time on, despite, no matter who you are, I'd say this area here really just takes a lot of time to get right. You'll find yourself, I would say, posing it a lot in like this pose here, kind of sitting down to really get everything, because especially once you get in the middle here, you're going to have to really try to divide everything up well between the pelvis and the two femur bones, to where no matter which bone moves, it doesn't distort the opposite side from it, or vice versa. But that's that for this video. The next one, I will start out and I will start showing you how to segment the model. I'll be using a fully weighed model, but I believe everything I've just showed you here in this short video should be able to help you get your model weighed from start to finish.